But yeah, I mean, for me personally, I saw the 17 vintages that like that spark, right? And you see that the inclusion of whole cluster that really adds a lot of like spice and additional layers to the wines. But it's like very uh, it's very healthy whole cluster, right? It's not the sort of sometimes green qualities that you can get from those wines. Your the wines are really hitting ripeness, and I think that the thing that is really exciting about the domain and things that we talked about, and talking to William, is kind of like what's happening in the vineyard, and I think that's probably why these wines are showing not that green element. They're showing like that pure, that spice, and like these wines are being made in the vineyard and not in the cellar as much. And so it's exciting, and I think we would love to hear um, more about what you're doing in the vineyard.
It's the thing is that on all my experiences before I joined, I've never worked with all cluster, but the best wine I've had for my taste were wines made this way. So at the time, it was the elder vintages of the DRC wines, and what really shocked me at the time was the old Dujac. I was lucky enough to taste a few wines from the 50s or early 90s, and when you pour, you're like they're completely pale, pink, also almost rosé, and when you smell it, they have so much fragrance and perfume. And I was like, it's something I've never experienced much. Sometimes with some wines of the DRC, which I was lucky enough to be able to taste, I was like, it's something like this I want to produce. I want the people to enjoy this kind of wine. So I started to use all cluster, and after at the time it became trendy, and there were too many, and there are too many all cluster wines on the market, which are only about all cluster and not much anymore about the vintage or the appellation. They kind of gimmicky. And on the lesser appellation like a Bourgogne, you're happy because it's something which can make it thirsty and you want to drink it. But sometimes it doesn't work at all. And if you have normal crop, like those 45, 50 hectoliters per hectare, which is the legal crop in Burgundy, 64 on the Bourgogne Rouge is the legal crop. If you want to use all cluster on this crop, you have to extract to have a long winemaking process, about a month, the classic. And when you do so, you don't extract just polyphenol and aromas. You as well extract tannins and greenness. And it's where you have those examples we all know about harsh, tight wines. And the ones which got me were not made this way. And I was, this might be something. And I became very fan of the Asian cuisine because of the work. I've been able to travel to Japan, these countries. And I learned the importance of having a very ripe and almost perfect, trying to get a perfect ingredient to make a. After it's more easy. It's like cooking. When the ingredient is perfect, you have nothing to do. When you have something so-so, there you have to be a talented winemaker to be able to make something good out of it. And I don't like winemaking. It's boring. I love to drink wine, but for me, it's all about being out in the field and the vineyards. And winemaking is, it's not boring because there's something magical happening, but I love to assist to it, to contemplate it, but not be much an actor of it. That's why now our winemaking process is so short and we do very, very less things. The latest you have, the winemaking process was between 8 days to 11 days of total process from picking to press. When not the 19th, it was 6 days and a half to 9 maximum. So, and some days we do nothing. When the job is done before, when the grapes are great, we don't need to do much. Pinot is good for that. We drink Pinot for its elegance and its class. You want, for my personal taste, I want ethereal wines. I don't want to have those massive 15 degrees Pinot made to hit the charts. You want something, you want the Pinot that after you realize you drank the bottle too fast because it was too good, not the opposite.
Okay, right. What are some of the changes that you've made? I mean, you when you enter Vaughan, it's Arnaud-Lachaux, or it's Robert Lachaux, right? It's like boom, the first thing you see when you come in. Um, and you've always had such incredible holdings, and so I mean, I would argue some of the top holdings in the Côte Nuit. What are some of the changes that you've made in the vineyard to allow you to sort of not necessarily make the wines in the cellar, but make them more so in the vineyard?
First of all, as you say, we have great appellations and great vineyards. I'm lucky to be born in a family with great holdings. Now, it wouldn't be the same if we would produce only some Bourgogne Rouge and some Beaujolais. To make this kind of work in those vineyards, in those appellations, it's harder. To produce this kind of wines we make today, you can do it in those appellations, but it's way more work. As we say, it's easy to make a good Grand Cru more than to make a good Bourgogne. And that's really the key thing. And I was lucky of these holdings. And that's why my parents always, they were more modern in the viticulture and the cellar, but everything was really, I would say, in good state, very well taken care of. Nothing was damaged. The vineyards were very in shape and in good form. So it was, would I just stay the same? And because the wines were good, we had our customers, everything was sold every year. So do you need to change and make something different when it works well? Now I'm losing my English. I don't have enough tastings at the moment. The trend nowadays is more to optimize the volume of crop and cut down the cost price, the producing cost, to make more margin. And that's why I think we are so disappointed with more and more big wines of the region. They don't have defaults, but do they deliver the magic you're expecting at those prices and at those appellations, even for Bourgogne? And that's where it all started for me. So like, how can I make something different and with implicating all my passion? But it changed a lot because of a lot of meetings. First, it started at school when I met people like Nicolas Faure. They were the most vigneron. This guy was one of the most vigneron of the school, and he was one of the only one which was not from a grower's family. And most of the people like us, they were in family when it's easy, and they weren't as passionate. We all loved wine, but it works too well. It's more easy to stay in the office, to travel, to be in your big SUV, and to be out in the field under the snow or the frost. But it's where it all starts. You can produce good stuff, staying here and giving directions to people working for you and have good people helping you. But it's not the same. I think if you want the wine to have a soul and to give you sparkles and stuff, you have to really have an input on it. And it's because of this kind of wines. And after I was lucky enough to have my first Leroy, and I was like, how can a wine make you feel that? So I hope that someday my wines can give somebody the same feelings, the same freckles, and how can I do? So it's where we started to change everything up.